Hello, how are you? This video is my opinion about whether or not Bill Cosby is innocent of the crimes that he was convicted of. Um, Today is February 19th, 2019. Now, my belief is that he is innocent, and I'm going to explain to you why. It's after reviewing the testimonies that these women have given against him. Many years ago, I'm going to give you some history, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there was this woman, Linda Constadt, I don't know where her name was. And when Bill Cosby would be on television, for example, on a talk show, he would get media attention. And she would also try to get media attention. She would try to send out a press release stating that she's been the victim of a crime. But everybody ignored it, and it just died off, and nobody heard from it again. And then many years later, I believe it was when Trayvon Martin was shot by the Hispanic man, Bill Cosby was on television on a talk show, maybe it was Jimmy Fallon, and he was talking about the incident. And shortly after that, the news item about Constadt, her accusation, came back into the news. But this time it didn't go away. And that's when it became known to the general population. Now, at the point that I researched this, there were 15 accusers. Now there's a lot more. Last I heard there was 50. I did some research today that somebody said that there's 80. So at the time there was 15. I only found 13 testimonies on the internet, and they were in the form of press releases. They were not court documents. And I read 13 out of 15. After reading 13 out of 15, I came to the conclusion that these women are not telling the truth. And there's a few different reasons why. One of them is their stories just don't make sense. They're not believable. And another reason why is because most of them copy the story of the first woman to the T. And if someone commits a crime 15 times, it's not going to be exactly the same every time. The stories are an impossibility even one time. The likelihood of it happening one time is low, 15 times not believable. So there's a lot of crazy accusations that were made that make absolutely no sense, that no rational person would believe. And the media does not investigate. The media only reports. And they report accusations. They do not investigate the accusations. These women were not cross-examined before the court case. So of these accusations, this is basically what happened. What most women told the same story. They said they met Bill Cosby. They did not all meet him at the same time. It was one year, one another year, one another year. So it would maybe 6 months to a year apart. It was one or two per year. He would be traveling around the United States. He would be going to interviews and different gigs and performances, and he would invite these women to fly to the city that he was in. He would pay for the ticket. He would book them a room in a hotel, and they would stay in that hotel room, and it was the same hotel that he was staying in. He would have dinner with them. After dinner, they would go back to their hotel rooms. Most of the women said they would end up in the woman's hotel room, not his hotel room. The women, most of them testified that they were in the middle of their menstrual cycle, that they were experiencing menstrual cramps, that they asked him for medicine for menstrual cramps, that he gave it to them, and that it made them paralyzed, and that the moment before they became paralyzed, the last thing they saw was him standing before them, and they saw him naked. They saw his private parts, and then they passed out. They woke up the next morning 8 hours later, and their vagina had pain in it, which to them meant that they had sex while they were passed out. That is the story that almost every woman said that I read. There were a few exceptions. There was one woman who said she believes it was put in her drink during a party at his house. Now, if this story is true, he'd have to be the dumbest criminal ever. How could he know when the woman is going to pass out and know to expose himself the exact moment that she's about to pass out to make it the last thing that she sees. And why would he do that? Why would he let that happen? The other problem with the story, I'm 47 years old. I've never had a woman ask me for medicine for menstrual cramps. And I don't believe it happens. Women are really, really private about that. They do not talk about menstruation with men, especially with a strange man that they don't know. Maybe they talk about it with their boyfriend or the husband. My girlfriend brought the subject up once, and I didn't know what she was talking about because she was using figurative speech. So I was like, what are you talking about? I'd never heard of it before. Well, I heard of menstrual cramps before and stuff, but she was using figurative speech. She was saying, oh, there's going to be a lot of blood. And I was like, what are you talking about? Why are you bleeding? It took me, oh, okay. So most women don't talk about these things with men. My own family didn't talk about it. My relatives, my sister, my mother, they didn't talk about these things. It's private to them. Women do not ask men for medicine for menstrual cramps. Statistically, 75% of them could not have been having menstrual cramps at the time, but yet all of them testified that they were. It doesn't make sense. The other issue is that Bill Cosby was getting a prescription for drugs. The drugs were Quaaludes. Quaaludes do not make people paralyzed. They do not make people give up their free will. They do not make people give up their freedom. They do not make them unable to move. They don't make them unable to make decisions. They don't make them unable to perceive their surroundings. They don't make them unable to walk or unable to behave. They do not restrict a person's ability to do much. They just make a person relaxed. Meaning that they don't care so much about things that are happening. They don't worry. The nervousness goes away. So the other issue is that these women were claiming that they knew that they had sex because they woke up and they had vagina pain. I do not believe that story. I've never heard of such a thing. Why would someone have pain 8 hours later from something like that? And I searched on Google. There's no medical condition that talks about pain in the morning after having sex the night before. There's no such thing on medical websites. The only people that do talk about having pain in the morning when they wake up is a daily pain that is caused by an infection. That is not what happens. So I do not believe that part of the story, which almost every woman said. Now, two of these women, one of them was a very famous woman. I don't remember her name, famous model. Two of these women had written about their relationships with Bill Cosby like 20, 30 years ago. They were published. One was published in a book, memoir, Janice Dickinson. The other one was published in a newspaper. Both of these women said they met Bill Cosby, the same situation as I explained, the hotel, the dinner, and when he approached them after dinner to meet in their hotel room, they both said that nothing happened. Janice Dickinson said that when Bill offered to see her in her hotel room, she rejected him and closed the door on him and never let him in. And she was not in the hotel room with him. But then when Constant came around, 20 years later, she changes her story and she says, oh yeah, something did happen. So that is a discrepancy that is extremely serious. When the other thing is, only one of these women went to the police, which was Constant. She met Bill Cosby. They had a relationship. He was giving almost all these women money. He's a wealthy guy. He was giving them money. After a year, she went to the police. The police took him in for questioning and took her in and questioned her. The police determined that they told the same story, which means that they determined that both of them were telling the truth, and the police determined that it was a consensual relationship. There's no such thing that you have 80 people accusing someone from rape and nobody goes to the police if a crime was committed. When a crime is committed, you go to the police. You don't wait a year later or never go. And the facts are that only one person stated that she went to the police, and the police record is only one person went to the police. There's no secret police records anywhere. So these stories, again, don't hold truth. The media misreports on it because they know that nobody's going to investigate the details. I investigate the details. The accusations were in the news for a while before you could go on the internet and research and find things. This is old media because before the internet, it was impossible to research anything, but now you can. Another thing that I've noticed over the years, the past 20, 25 years or more, is that older black celebrities are accused of crimes all the time. And I researched their crimes. Mike Tyson, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jackson. The accusers never make sense. I never believe the accusers. You're talking about people who are extremely discredited. They were found to have lied in court before, or their stories made no sense, or their stories were disproven in very obvious ways, or they were accused of taking something minor. Like I think Kobe Bryant was an assault because he put his hand on the woman's shoulder, and that's what it said. It said, "Oh, he put his hand on my shoulder." That's not an assault. So the media they profit from tearing down people because it's newsworthy, because you want to read something interesting, and that this is shock news is what it is. Unfortunately, it's not true. Now, I didn't write everything down. I want to make sure I remember all of the details about what happened with Cosby, because I know that there's more details. Now, one of the jurors said that the reason why he got convicted is because of the drugs. But it's like I already said, the Quaaludes don't do what these people were testifying that it does. The other issue is that a lot of these women said that they were charmed by Bill Cosby, which is why it happened. They said, this happened because I was charmed by him. He was so charming, and he mentored me. Charming a person and having intercourse with them is not rape. That is not what rape is. That is consensual. Being charmed by someone means consensual. That is what it means. Now, this is the big hole in some of the stories. It shows you how crazy some of these accusations are. There were 2 women of the 13 that I read who stated that it happened on more than one occasion a year apart, meaning that he had twice, or in one case 3 times, bought the plane ticket. She flew to the city that he was in, like Las Vegas, stayed in a hotel room, went out to dinner, had a relationship in her room, and then a year later, she did it again, and then a year later, she did it again, and she said that all 3 times that she was raped. And the other one said it happened twice. That is not rape. That is consensual. For these reasons, I believe that Bill Cosby is innocent. I believe he's a good person, and I do not believe the accusers. Like I said, I haven't read all 80, but it's just absolute nonsense. And the other issue is that a lot of these accusers, so what if there's 80? Why did they take so long? I mean, talking about years going by. Did they not hear what was going on? Why did they wait so long to tell their story? These people were jilted. They were jilted lovers. Bill Cosby was having relationships with lots of women. I believe that he didn't want to talk about it because he has a relationship with his wife, and I believe that he's trying to protect his wife. He doesn't want to ruin his relationship with his wife. And that's why he wasn't defending himself in public. Okay, so that is my opinion. You can share whatever opinion you have, but if you haven't read what these women have actually accused him of, then you should, because you're going to be surprised at what the truth is. Thank you. Okay, so I remembered something. I have an addendum about Bill Cosby, about this woman, Constant. She was the one who brought about this lawsuit against him. She was the driving force behind it. But she made a huge mistake, which proves that she is lying. And it has something, my memory is that it has something to do with phone calls. That there were phone calls that were made between her and Bill Cosby, and there were multiple phone calls. And something about this was, well, if he had raped you, why are you talking to him on the phone after he raped him once a week, going on for a couple of months or something like that? So there was a big hole in the story regarding her testimony about some phone calls that were made that I don't recall exactly what the situation was. And what happened is that she testified either that the phone calls never existed, but then they proved that she was lying and the phone calls did exist. Something like that happened where she got caught in a lie about the phone calls. And I really don't remember exactly what it was. And I'm not going to go research it now. I don't want to do it. Look it up on your own. But that's one of the key holes in her story. And again, she is the one who is the driving force who brought upon this lawsuit against Bill Cosby, and she is not trustworthy.